Good morning, team. No. Don't be scared.
Kind of like I was not good at hurting people.
Dwayne, get your coat.
I don't have one.
Are you serious?
Like peanut M&Ms, right?
We're missing a lot. You have any idea why?
Roofman, 2025, unfolds as a gripping crime drama rooted in an almost unbelievable true story, presenting a character study that blends suspense, emotion, and psychological tension. At its core, the film explores how desperation, intelligence, and flawed humanity collide when a man pushed to the margins begins to outthink the very systems designed to contain him. The narrative immediately establishes a grounded, realistic tone, reminding the audience that this is not a stylized heist fantasy, but a story shaped by real choices, real consequences, and a life slowly unraveling under the weight of its own contradictions. Jeffrey Manchester, portrayed by Channing Tatum, is introduced as a former Army Ranger whose life after service has not followed a heroic path. He is a struggling father burdened by financial pressure, emotional isolation, and a growing sense that the world has moved on without him. His military background is not presented as a badge of honor, but as a quiet influence on his discipline, patience, and ability to plan with precision. These traits, once meant for service, gradually become tools for survival in a society that offers him few second chances. What sets Jeffrey apart from typical criminals is the ingenuity behind his crimes. Rather than using violence or intimidation, he targets McDonald's restaurants in a highly unconventional way, cutting holes through their roofs to gain access after hours. This method earns him the nickname Roofman, a moniker that feels almost mythic, transforming him into an urban legend, whispered about by law enforcement. The film carefully shows how these robberies are not driven by greed, but by a calculated need to provide and stay afloat, even as each crime pulls him further from a lawful life. As the robberies continue, the tension escalates, not through explosive action, but through quiet suspense. Each rooftop entry is depicted with meticulous detail, emphasizing silence, timing, and the constant risk of discovery. The audience is drawn into Jeffrey's mindset, feeling both the thrill of his cleverness and the dread of inevitable capture. The story refuses to glamorize crime, instead presenting it as a temporary solution that compounds long-term damage. Eventually, Jeffrey is caught and sent to prison, a turning point that shifts the film's direction while maintaining its intensity. Prison is portrayed as claustrophobic and psychologically draining, reinforcing the idea that freedom, once lost, becomes an obsession. When Jeffrey manages to escape, the film takes an unexpected turn that elevates the story from crime drama into something uniquely unsettling and fascinating. After escaping custody, Jeffrey disappears from the public eye in a way that defies logic and expectation. He secretly takes up residence inside a closed Toys R Us, living undetected for 6 months. This section of the film is particularly striking, transforming a brightly colored, child-centric retail space into a hidden refuge for a man on the run. The contrast between innocence and criminality creates an eerie atmosphere, emphasizing how far Jeffrey has drifted from a normal life. His time inside the store is depicted as both resourceful and deeply lonely. He builds makeshift living arrangements, scavenges for food, and studies the rhythms of the outside world through surveillance and careful observation. These sequences highlight his intelligence and adaptability, but they also underscore the emotional cost of isolation. Jeffrey is free from prison walls, yet he is more trapped than ever, living in shadows and silence. During this hidden chapter, the film delves into Jeffrey's internal conflict. Memories of his past, his child, and the life he once imagined surface repeatedly, creating a sense of quiet regret. The Toys R Us becomes a symbol of lost innocence and unrealized dreams, reflecting the gap between who Jeffrey was and who he has become. The longer he remains hidden, the more fragile his sense of control becomes. The narrative shifts again when Jeffrey meets Leigh, played by Kirsten Dunst, a divorced mother navigating her own struggles. Leigh is portrayed as grounded, emotionally resilient, and cautiously hopeful, a woman who has been disappointed before but has not completely closed herself off to connection. Their meeting feels organic rather than contrived, built on subtle interactions and shared vulnerability rather than dramatic coincidence. Jeffrey's relationship with Leigh introduces warmth into an otherwise tense story, but it also becomes the most dangerous element of his double life. For the first time in a long while, he experiences genuine affection and a glimpse of normalcy. Leigh is drawn to his charm, intelligence, and quiet intensity, unaware of the full truth behind his past. Their connection feels real and tender, making the audience root for them even as they sense the looming consequences. As their relationship deepens, the film carefully balances romance with suspense. Jeffrey's lies become more difficult to maintain, and each moment of happiness is shadowed by the fear of exposure.
Leigh represents everything he wants to protect, yet she is also the one who could unintentionally bring his hidden life crashing down.
This emotional tension becomes the driving force of the second half of the film. Meanwhile, law enforcement continues to close in, turning Jeffrey's story into a slow, burning game of cat and mouse. The pursuit is depicted methodically, focusing on investigation, patterns, and patience rather than spectacle. The film emphasizes that no matter how clever Jeffrey is, the past leaves traces, and unresolved actions eventually resurface. Channing Tatum delivers a restrained and layered performance, portraying Jeffrey as neither hero nor villain, but as a deeply flawed human being. His physical presence conveys strength, while his quieter moments reveal vulnerability and exhaustion. Kirsten Dunst provides a powerful counterbalance, bringing emotional depth and authenticity to Leigh, making her more than just a love interest, but a fully realized character with her own agency and perspective. The supporting cast adds texture to the story, portraying investigators, everyday workers, and peripheral figures who unknowingly orbit Jeffrey's secret life. Each interaction, no matter how brief, reinforces the theme that society is interconnected and isolation is often an illusion. These characters serve as reminders that Jeffrey's actions ripple outward, affecting lives beyond his own. From a factual standpoint, the film remains anchored in its real-life inspiration while shaping events into a cohesive cinematic narrative. The story highlights the unusual methods, the extended period of hiding, and the psychological toll of living off the grid. Rather than exaggerating events, it leans into their inherent strangeness, trusting that the truth itself is compelling enough. In terms of release context, Roofman is positioned as a 2025 film, arriving as audiences continue to gravitate toward true crime stories that prioritize character and realism over shock value. Its timing reflects a growing interest in nuanced portrayals of criminals, focusing on motivation, consequence, and moral ambiguity rather than simple good versus evil frameworks. The promotional footage for the film suggests a tense, atmospheric experience, emphasizing quiet moments, sharp performances, and an undercurrent of constant risk. Scenes of rooftop break-ins, empty retail aisles, and intimate conversations hint at a story that unfolds through mood and character rather than explosive set pieces. The tone appears deliberate and suspenseful, inviting viewers to lean in rather than brace for impact. Visually, the film contrasts open rooftops with confined interiors, reinforcing the theme of freedom versus entrapment. Lighting and framing are used to emphasize secrecy, with shadows and narrow perspectives dominating Jeffrey's hidden world. These choices support the narrative without drawing attention away from the performances. As the story progresses toward its climax, the pressure of Jeffrey's double life becomes unbearable. Choices must be made, and the cost of survival is weighed against the possibility of redemption. The film does not rush this resolution, allowing consequences to unfold naturally and leaving the audience to grapple with their own judgments about Jeffrey's actions. Ultimately, Roofman, 2025, stands as a compelling blend of crime, drama, and psychological tension. It tells a story about ingenuity born from desperation, love found in unlikely circumstances, and the inescapable pull of the past. By focusing on character, realism, and emotional stakes, the film transforms an extraordinary true story into a grounded and thought-provoking cinematic experience that lingers long after the final scene.